Hello, friends, and welcome back to the PhotograpHER podcast. I am your host, Jamie Bugby, a family photographer, educator, and the creator of the Booked Photographer course, where I help family photographers get booked through their websites, not social media or ads, and turn their websites into a true 24/7 lead machine. This podcast is about helping photographers build sustainable and aligned businesses that support your life, your family, and your creativity without burning out or chasing every trend. And today's episode is a really important conversation, especially for photographers who feel like they have to go all in or not do it at all. Because today we are talking about building a part-time photography business on purpose. So I am so excited to have Lydia Fine with me today. She's a photographer and educator, and she is behind Apollo and Ivy Photography. She is a lifestyle photographer based in North Liberty, Iowa, and she photographs families, seniors, and newborns. But what makes her story especially unique is that she intentionally runs her business part-time with continuing her career in marketing. She holds both a marketing degree and MBA from the University of Iowa, and she uses more than 20 years of experience to grow her photography business while designing systems and workflows and helping photographers with their website to keep things efficient and sustainable. So through her education platform, Lydia teaches photographers, especially part-time photographers, how to use all of this to create smarter systems so they spend less time behind the scenes and more time doing exactly what she loves. So Lydia, I'm so excited to have you here today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk to you because I think this is something that a lot of photographers feel very strongly about, and they feel the pressure to do something different. So I'm excited to dive into you, but with you. But before we do that, I want to start with your story and how you got into photography and a little bit about your home life, because I know you have children, you're married. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah. Well, if you had asked me 20 years ago, when I was, how old am I now? 25-year-old Lydia, if she would be a photographer someday, I think I would have laughed in your face, because the last thing I ever saw myself as was an artist. So this definitely was a surprise. And photography kind of found me by accident during COVID, when a friend asked if I would take her Christmas card photo with my nice camera. They didn't have a budget that year for proper family photos. And I said, I do not know what I'm doing. Just done a couple workshops at the community college. Keep your expectations low. And she's like, no problem. We don't mind. And I took them and they were horrid. So bad. But I also got really obsessed very quickly with trying to create the pictures I knew I wanted to take, the kind that were in my head, but I couldn't yet figure out how to make those. And it didn't take too long before I realized this was super fun. And in addition to building a business and the marketing side of things, I was really loving the taking pictures and meeting people side of things. So in 2021, I launched my business officially and have been part-time ever since. I was working a full-time 5 days a week marketing job when I first started my business. And about a year and a half ago, I did reduce down to 32 hours a week, which is technically still full-time, but I'm only working 4 days a week. And now I have one full day every week during the week while my kids are at school to dedicate to my photography business, which feels really, really good. I am, and part of my story is my family situation, because I am married to a stand-up comedian. And
Really?
I am, yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, my marriage is a joke. I'm kidding. No, it's not. That's my funny little joke. But he has, I knew that when we met the old-fashioned way, where girl in audience, boy on stage. And then I looked him up on MySpace, and he's always done this as long as I've known him. And he's a content creator now as well. And stand-up comedy comes with no benefits. It comes with no health insurance, and it comes with no retirement unless you're, trying to save on your own. And just like as with music, there's a lot of really talented performers out there who are just grinding, who've never caught a break. Yeah. And my husband is one of those, grinding away artists. So I always knew that the majority of the money in the family would be earned by me through my marketing career. And that has continued to be the case. And then the benefits when we had kids, that fell to me too. And it's so important because we have children who have medical needs. I have a child who's neurodivergent and on the spectrum. And there's a lot that comes with that. So the benefits I get through my full-time job are super important. And it is one of the reasons that I am remaining purposely part-time. I'm talking a lot, so I'm going to take a stop there and let you interject.
I love this. Yeah, no, this is really interesting. I had no idea that you were married to a stand-up comic. I joke and tell my husband that he's married to one, but he would disagree. He's like, "You're not that funny," but okay.
I actually think I'm funnier than he is. If in certain settings, he's funnier on a stage. I'm funnier at like a table full of women. So we both have
I think you're pretty funny.
Yeah, we both have our settings. Thank you.
Yeah, we always ask our kids, we're like, who's funnier, mommy or daddy? They're like, Dad. And I'm like, that's not true.
No, not true.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your marketing and your MBA, because that's really unique in the photography world. How did that influence how you built your photography business?
Yeah. So I had never built a business from scratch. So when I started photography, there were two angles of it that I was super excited about. The first one was to see how much of my marketing experience I could really put to work and put it behind my business to support its growth. At the same time that I was honing my skills behind the camera and, editing and all of those fun things that go along with creating the photographs. So I've been really lucky. I've had so much experience over the years with SEO, with creating websites that convert, contact forms, all the technology things, because my job in marketing is very technology heavy. And that has come in incredibly handy because I think a lot of people come into photography from the art side of things, and the business and tech side is sort of like the bane of their existence. And I'm a little bit the opposite. The tech side and the business side are where I feel comfortable. I'm still getting really comfortable behind the camera. That's the part that was the challenge for me, is the artistic side of things. So I am a little bit weird in that regard. I'm weird in lots of different ways, but that's one of them.
Well, I think it's good to be weird, because I always tell my husband it's better to be weird than boring, and that makes you creative, right? So
absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting take, because I agree. Most people go into it because they're very creative and they feel really strongly and confident about making these beautiful photos, which you do that. But the fact that you felt more comfortable with the marketing aspect is really great, because I mean, as you know, like that's probably like 90% of our job is marketing if we're going to get hired and get paid. So I think you had an advantage in that. Do you feel like you did?
Oh God, yes. I had someone here locally, this really sweet gal who had just discovered she was about to become a single mom to 5 children. And she reached out and she said, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to support my family. I've never worked. And she said, I just saw how quickly you built your business, and I just wanted to know. I said, you wanted to know how I did it? She's like, yes. And so I told her, it's kind of a joke. I sort of think about that movie Taken with Liam Neeson, and the young kids listening to this are going, what? And you know what I'm talking about, where he says, I have a very specific set of skills that I have honed over the course of a long career, skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. No, I'm kidding. I'm not a nightmare, but it really is this perfect storm of skills that, when I decided to start my photography business, set me up for success in so many ways that it does feel unfair sometimes. Absolutely an advantage.
For sure. Can you tell me a little bit more about how, I'm curious how you got the name Apollo and Ivy for your business?
That's a good one. So my last name is Fine, which is an adjective, right? Which is automatically a little bit weird. If I named my business the way most people do, Lydia Fine Photography, they would be like, is that her name? Or is she saying her photography is fine? Because fine photography is kind of a thing. Like it's olden days, that term, right? So I was like, that's going to be weird. Plus, the business person in me was thinking years down the road to potentially, if I might want to sell my business someday, I don't want my name attached to it. So I decided that doing something not me forward branded would make more sense. And Apollo is the Roman god of the sun and light, and Ivy sounded good with Apollo, if I'm going to be honest. So that's kind of how I landed on that.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, mine is Jamie Bugby Photography, but I'm actually Jamie King. That's my married name. And I left it that because I thought, well, Jamie King, there's an actress that's named Jamie King, and it just felt more generic. And I always got made fun of for my last name. But then as I got older, people were always like, oh, I love it. And I was like, oh, I'll just leave it because it was more interesting. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you have that interesting name. But I
Yeah.
do love your real name also. I think that's beautiful. Either way.
Maybe someday I'll decide to go back to my name. On the education side of things, I'm trying to use my name more than Apollo and Ivy, because Apollo and Ivy does one set of services and Lydia Fine does another. So it's one of these weird branding lines to walk, and I'll figure it out. We'll get there.
I love it. I also love that you are part-time on purpose, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. But you dived into this a little bit earlier, but what made you decide that that was the right structure for your life? Was it that your job has so many benefits? Like, what else was there? What made you decide, like, you know what, I'm going to be part-time on purpose and I'm okay with that?
Yeah. I mean, I've always known that because I have a job in higher education where the retirement in particular is really generous. I don't make a bajillion dollars. State-run universities are not the place you go to make really great salaries, but the benefits are amazing. I can take my children or myself to the doctor whenever we need to, and we don't pay a copay a lot of the time. All of our prescriptions, if they're generics, they're $0. There was so much there that I knew I wanted to hang on to. And then I don't plan to work until I'm 65. I have a retirement plan at 57 and I am heading toward that full steam. So these plans I had for my life were very much dependent upon keeping that piece intact. Plus I knew that the benefits were not going to come from my husband's job. And to be completely honest, I wasn't sure that if photography was my full-time job that I would enjoy it as much. And I hear from friends who have this as their primary and sole source of income, and they're supporting the family. And sometimes they're just like, I just want to set it all down for a while, but they know they can't. And so they sort of have to push through. And if I have periods of time like that, I can set it down, and I have that luxury. So it does give me choice. It also gives me a lot of things to get done. So there's two different sides of that sword, But that's why it always kind of made sense. And I started part-time and it was working okay. It was working great, actually. It still does. So
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's very smart too. The only reason why I was able to like jump ship at my healthcare job is that my husband had a job. He got a new job like 3 years before I quit and went full time, and it was his benefits. That was a huge reason why I was able to leave. So I feel very lucky and very privileged to be able to have those benefits, because in dental hygiene, you get benefits, but they're not that great. I mean, they're better than nothing, but my husband works in a union. So it was like, okay, that's going to help me leave. Did you ever feel pressure to go full time when you first started? Because I think that's a big thing we hear like on social media and everything. Like we don't really talk about part-time on purpose.
No, it's all like when you think about what is part of the conversation out there around what your goals should be, there's two things that people talk about. The first one is going full time. The second one is becoming a six-figure photographer. I hear those two things all the time. And it took me a while to reconcile that with how I need to run my business and how my life has to work for me. And there was a lot of sort of embarrassment on my part, like, oh, I better not talk about being only part-time. And I shouldn't mention I also have a marketing job. Clients won't take me seriously. But it turns out that it doesn't matter. They really don't care. And it took me some time to come to terms with that and realize that it was my own insecurities, no one else's, just me. So I always kind of had to deal with that. And then, the part about becoming a six-figure photographer, I also have luxury there because my bills are paid with my, marketing job salary. And this is all frosting. All of my photography income is frosting. Now, when I drop down to 32 hours a week, I do have to make up for that 20% of my salary that I am foregoing. But as soon as I'm beyond that and I've covered my business expenses, it's all just good times, and vacations for my family, which we leave on our big spring break vacation a week from today. And I'm
Oh,
very
fun.
excited. Yeah. We're
Where are
going to
you
go to
going?
Puerto Rico. I've never been to Puerto
Oh,
Rico, so I'm excited.
okay. Well, I want to go to Puerto Rico after I watch the Super Bowl, so have
I
fun.
know, right? I'm so excited.
Yeah, I have a big crush on Bad Bunny now, so.
Same. Oh man, I love him in Bullet Train. Oh, wow. Anyway,
Oh,
sorry. I
no.
won't digress.
I love his music too. Me and my daughter were rocking out in the car, and she's like, "Don't change it, mommy. I love it."
Same.
Yeah. Well, I hear you on that. That brings me into my next question when you were talking about like, being taken seriously and stuff. But how do you define success for yourself instead of following like these trends and what everyone else is doing? How did you come to that point where you're like, this is what I want, and this is success?
I mentor a lot of photographers who are also purposely part-time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of conversations around what is different for us because of how we are choosing to run our business. For example, all of those cost of doing business calculators out there
Mm-hmm.
don't apply to us.
Mm-hmm.
They're for people who are working with one source of income. So how do you come up with your expenses, or how do you know what to pay yourself if
Mm-hmm.
you don't need more pay? So you
Mm-hmm.
get to choose a number. You really get to pull a number out of the air. So I think that's definitely part of what makes being part-time different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've gone down a tangent and I've sort of lost my train of thought. So remind me what your
That's
question
okay.
was.
That's okay. No, you were answering it. I was wondering how you define success instead of
Oh,
like for
yes.
yourself versus like following what
Yeah.
everyone else is doing. Like when did you come to
Yeah.
the point where you're like, actually I'm successful. Like I'm good with where I'm at.
So I've been really lucky that because of just the word of mouth around my business, I have
Mm-hmm.
never not booked my calendar full. Now I am part-time, which means I don't take a billion sessions. But
Mm-hmm.
I usually do somewhere between 50 and 75 sessions a year. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a good number. But I'm not shooting for a specific dollar amount, honestly, because I am trying to balance a full-time day job with photography, with being a mom, with being a daughter and a sister and a wife, right? All of those things, not in that order. Um, Honestly, success is contentment in many ways. It's being content with the amount of work I'm doing, feeling good about how much I'm home, how much I'm really fully present for my children. And
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting that this conversation is happening now, because I just kind of came to a very big decision yesterday, because I had an associate photographer for the first time last year, and I was bringing on a second one this year because of my good marketing, I get way more
Yeah.
inquiries than I can deal with. And
Well, that's
so,
amazing.
which is nice. It's a great problem to have. But I
Yeah.
realized that my associates were creating work for me in the areas of my business that I find the least fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
So it just took me some time, because I thought, oh, I can make more money. I should. And I think that's sort of programmed in me. If you can see more money out there, go get it. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming to terms with the fact that more money is not success.
Right.
Balance and happiness and contentment, that's
Mm-hmm.
actually the real success, not a dollar amount. So I don't think I'm going to
Yeah.
have associates any longer, and that's kind of sad, but it's what I need to
Mm-hmm.
redefine success. And I think the definition of success has changed over the course of
Mm-hmm.
well, I think it changes over the course of one's life, but it's definitely changed over the 6 years I've been in business as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, good for you. And I think it's awesome that you were just like, that you decided, because I think that's, we get analysis paralysis and we freeze. And I hate to say it, but we do have this little voice in our head, like, well, everybody else is doing this and I should be doing that. And what does that mean if I don't want to do that? Then that doesn't mean I'm not doing it right. I'm wasting my time. And then you go down this whole rabbit hole when really it's like deep down, you really know what's right for you, and you have to make that call. And once you do, it's kind of just a relief. So good for
Yeah.
you.
And after I kind of just decided this is what I'm going to do, I just felt so free. I felt so light. I was like, okay, these are feelings I need to listen to.
Yeah.
I was like, let me sit with this decision for a while. But after about 24 hours, I thought, no, everything about this feels so right and so good. I know I did the right thing. And so now I just kind of got to, roll that out to the people who need to know about it and decide, what's my capacity going to look like now? How will this change things? But it's a good thing. It's a different definition of success. I will make less money, and I'm okay with that.
I'm glad you mentioned too, like your photography business is like your frosting, because that is one thing I will say I have missed. Once you go, I'm the primary, person that's bringing in most of the money. My husband and I are kind of matched now, and as he's changed his job, we've kind of gotten very similar. But I had a lot of pressure in the beginning when we were married and we were having kids, that I had to bring it all in. It was too much. I needed to leave, and I'm glad I did. But with that, then my photography became like everything, and it did change. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's something you do have to consider when you do go full time, is that now it's coming from all that, and there's a different pressure and it feels different.
Yes.
Yeah. And taxes, and it's a whole different can of worms. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it's important.
Yeah. And I just got my email from my CPA about 30 minutes ago telling me what I owe in taxes this year. And that's always nice, because I prepare myself for a scary amount. And this year it's not so scary, which is wonderful. Good. And again, it's like so nice to know how much of that frosting that I've just been squirreling away all year, we can, we can go eat some really nice meals in Puerto Rico and, do some extra things this year that that money allows us to do. So it's a trade-off.
For sure. Yeah. And I also think it's good too, as a parent and a mother, like that you has said more money isn't going to make me happier. Like my time, because I think that is what most of us start this for, is like, we really want our time back, but you do kind of get into this slippery slope of,
doing more. And the pressure to do more because you can is a separate conversation from, should you do more? Do you want to do more? And sometimes it's hard to understand what we really want. Sometimes knowing what we really want takes a while of suffering through what we don't want before we realize it.
For sure. So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about how you help photographers with systems and tech and efficiency and all those things. And you talk a lot about that. And I love your reels, by the way. If you're not following Lydia, you should follow her just for her reels. They are packed full of like these amazing tips and things like that. But can we talk a little bit about like, what are the biggest systems that allow you to run the photography business while still working your marketing job? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So it's actually, the systems is part of a larger conversation, because when people ask me, what does it take to run a photography business successfully part-time? I say there are three big levers that you can adjust. You need to have profitable pricing, because if you aren't pricing yourself profitably, you're going to come to resent your clients and resent the time you're spending away from home, because you already don't have a ton of extra time, right? You need to lock in your systems, right? And I'll expand on that in a moment. And then the third one is that you need to outsource your busy work. Notice I didn't say like outsource your personal life, because that's the part you want to do. Like that's the part you want to show up for. I'm talking about the house cleaning and the grocery delivery, and I do like a home chef meals, and my husband does all the cooking, and finding the pieces. I have a virtual assistant that does album design for me, and she does some social media posting and admin. Finding ways to take the stuff you don't enjoy off of your plate is the third lever that's important to success like this. However, systems. Yes, I think what happens is a lot of part-timers believe that because they aren't full-time, that they shouldn't have full-time level systems. So, well, I don't need a CRM. I'm just part-time. Actually, I want to argue with you there that you do need a part-time, I want to point out you need a CRM as a person who is part-time, because you have less time for admin than a full-timer. So you need it more. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that. And that's what I kind of help my mentees come to, is the realization that they're spending too much time on back-end admin. So let's make that part easier. And let's find ways for your bookings to happen with a single email. So all of the, package selection, contract signing, questionnaire, paying deposit happens in one email. And then the payments down the road happen without you even having to do anything. Like, let's make your admin as hands off as we possibly can.
So what back end tasks do you feel like eat up most of the photographer's time? Do you think it's like not having a CRM and answering like those emails and all those things? What else do you see?
Yeah. So, I mean, lack of email templates is a big one. It's a really, really big one. And then, and on top of that, I think is not having a one-step booking process, because then you end up, I see other part-time photographers posting on social media. Like there's somebody I follow that every month they put a post up, and it's actually for their clients, but they put it on social media, which I don't entirely understand, where they say, hey, if you have a session coming up next month, check your inbox. I just emailed out your contract. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I just think about, right? I just think about how much work that must be for her to do that separately from the bookings. Just, girl, get that set up. I know that it's a lot of work up front, but wow, does it ever come back to you in spades, because you aren't spending that midnight, up forever late at night trying to send contracts out, and sending invoices separately for the deposit and the final payment, and all of that can be done for you so easily. So, goodness gracious, set it up and then let it run.
What are your favorite like tech tools and automations that you think are the most helpful?
Okay, well, I'm going to nerd out on you here, so please just bear with me. Well, I absolutely love, I use HoneyBook. I'm a HoneyBook fan. I'm a HoneyBook user. There's no such thing as a perfect CRM. None of them are perfect, but at my job in marketing, I actually have worked with a ton of CRMs, including like Salesforce, the big one that's out there serving tons of companies. That thing's a monster. So I know what CRMs can do. And I was very particular when I chose my CRM. I love smart files in HoneyBook. I love what I can send one out, as a button in an email, and then everything just happens. And I'm on the pickleball court, or I'm sitting at my son's tumbling class, and I get a little cha-ching on my watch, and there's a payment. There's a book session. It is the best, absolutely the best feeling ever. So I love my smart files in HoneyBook. I also, because I am a massive nerd, I try to identify areas in my business where I can tell that I'm getting annoyed with the admin. And one of those was entering my expenses in to my Airtable database, where I track everything. It's like my system of record. All the money coming in goes in there, all the money coming out. So I built this really cool tool that uses AI. So when I buy something, I can take the email receipt and forward it to a special email box that parses out the email, compares what did I buy, compares it to the list of tax categories, it puts it into my Airtable database. And then, like, it's the best thing ever. I absolutely love it. Well, it's called Receipt Rover, but so far, and I actually just recently rebuilt it to work with Google Sheets and Gemini, meaning it'll work for free for most people, but I haven't, I was going to see if a couple friends wanted to beta test it for me.
So you created this?
Yeah.
Oh, I just created a program. Yeah, no problem. That's amazing.
I'm a massive nerd.
I have to learn more about this. Okay. So keep geeking out. This is really good.
Yeah, we'll take that one offline. But the expense entry, I absolutely loved. That one's a really good one. And I'm a huge numbers nerd. So I love dashboards and charts and line graphs and everything. So I use Airtable. I absolutely adore Airtable. I use that to build a lot of dashboards, so I can just kind of see where I'm at, plan out my capacity for the year.
About Airtable. I don't know what that is.
Airtable.
If anybody's listening and they're not a numbers person and they don't, I am not. I'm like, I just want to draw you a picture and then move on. But I know it's important. So tell me a little bit about Airtable.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I'm going to try to think about how to make this as simple as possible. I know there are some people out there who are huge Airtable evangelists in the photography world. Coley James being one of them, Anami Tonkin being another. They both have some products around Airtable. But what Airtable is a blank canvas that you can use to store any and all information that you need to around your business. So For example, I was using an Excel spreadsheet before Airtable, and I had a tab for all of my photo sessions and how much, my clients paid and which package they got. And then I would have maybe an expense tied to that session, like a parking fee for the location.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe a print product that they ordered and I had to, I purchased and resold. So what Airtable does is it allows me to put my session fee income, my sales income from products, and my expenses in one place. So I can connect all of those together. And what that will tell me at the end of the year is which of my sessions are the most profitable, which package is being purchased the most often. This is the kind of information that's really hard to get out of Honeybook. Very hard.
Yeah.
And because my sales happen in Shootproof, there's no connection there. And Airtable allows me to connect all of those things because I can link, it's called tables, a table for sessions, a table for expenses, a table for product sales. I can link all three together so that expenses are tied to sessions and sales are tied to sessions and everything's one big happy family. I have my locations in there, my client contacts. I can see at a glance which of my clients has spent the most money with me since I opened my business. I can tell you the top 10, who they are. And every year I can see who my top 10 are and I send them a special holiday gift around Christmas time. And it's my favorite thing ever, but I will say it is not for the faint of heart. If you are very tech savvy and you love technology, you're going to fall in love with it. But I would say for your average photographer, it may be a little too much. I don't know. But like I said, I'm a nerd.
So Receipt Rover, Airtable, Honeybook, those are like your top three, you would say, that you love.
I would say, that I love. I'm very demanding of the software that I use. And so I'm constantly submitting feature requests for the things that I wish it did.
Good.
So I'm sure that the development teams might hate me just a little bit at some of the places.
I know this is kind of going to more like the educator zone, but you also use Zaps a lot, right?
I do use Zapier. And actually, I'm in the process of bringing everything from Zapier over into a different tool that does the same thing called Make, because it's a fraction of the price.
Okay. I think I've used that before.
Yeah. Okay. It does not, however, have the right Honeybook connection. So it'll be a little while before I can fully move everything. But if I can get out of spending $500 a year on Zapier and instead just spend $100 on Make, if I can make that happen, I want to make it happen. Pardon the pun.
Yeah. Okay. I love this. This is really helpful. I think this would be really awesome for people to hear this, and me too. So, so if somebody wanted to save like 5 hours a week, if they're listening, they're like, okay, this is great, but what exactly would save me the most time? Let's just say 5 hours. Where should they start? Do you think they should start with these apps?
I think that if you're starting from zero and you know you're spending too much time, I would say start with it doesn't even have to be a complex CRM. Start with a basic CRM that your client and session data can all be together in. And step number one, email templates, right? And then step number two would be your one-step booking process. Like those are the things that you need to lock in because they will save you the most time. Because what you want to be able to do is be sitting in bed at night and go to your, the app on your phone for Honeybook. I always send a thank you email after every session. I like to customize it just a tad, just a little. And I'm laying in bed. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to email about tonight's session. I'll pull it up on my phone, email template. It automatically merges in the name of the client. And then I might change like one or two things and then hit send. And then I tuck in and go to bed. That's what you want to be able to do rather than being like, oh, I need to send that email. I better go get my computer. Blah, blah, blah. That's the time suck. So templates. Oh my gosh. Yes. So much.
Yeah, amen to that. I totally agree. I have, I ended up hiring it out. I shout out to Emily Woodall. She was amazing. She helped me do that. But I knew what I needed. I just didn't have the time to build it. Mm-hmm. And I'll admit, like doing those things, there's a learning curve. But I will say, once it was done, now I duplicate that same thing so I can do more if I need it for a different niche. But they are such a huge time saver. So I agree. It's just so amazing to be like, bada bing, bada boom. You got your template. You just push a button. It's out.
Yes. There's a gal named Laura that I have used to build smart files for mentees or for people who come to me for help with HoneyBook. And she just knows the smart files capability so well, and she's so fast. I can't remember her name. I'll have to tell you so you can put it in the notes because she's great.
Yeah, I would love to know.
And yeah, I mean, just even having somebody, if you don't want to, do the learning curve to learn exactly how to build a smart file because they're a little finicky, hire somebody, and it's well worth the money. You'll get it all back.
The other thing that we both have in common is Jen Birchler. She is our VA, and I wanted to give her a shout out because she has just been so helpful to me. I know not everybody listening might need a VA right now.
Right. And it's Jen Harris. Remember, she got married.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I have her in my phone as. So yeah.
I know, right? Same. I use the old last name a lot. But no, she is absolutely wonderful and so efficient and fast. And she's wonderful. I have loved having her on my side as a VA. So
yes.
Agreed.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I want to kind of change a little bit and talk about marketing and visibility because you're so amazing at that. And with your marketing background, I think we should dive into that a little bit. Can you talk about what photographers misunderstand about marketing their business?
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, what they misunderstand about marketing their business. Well, I think that a lot of times, and you know this is part of your mantra too. They think that social media is the place to grow their business, to get new clients. And while I will not lie, there are some people who are lucky enough to have a large influx of new clients from social media. Every time you invest in social media as a place where you're trying to grow your business, you're building your house on someone else's property. And to be honest, their property is kind of crappy and it falls apart. And maybe it's like really sandy soil and the whole thing's just going to crumble someday. We have no idea when that resource and asset's going to be taken away. So don't build your business on social media, build it on property you own. So SEO, absolutely. SEO is the way to go. And I think a lot of people get caught up in SEO without realizing they are local SEO. It's not just SEO, it's local SEO. You're not trying to get traffic from the entire country. You're trying to get traffic from your back door. So, behave accordingly. Make sure you're putting focus on tools that serve your local SEO. Like I'm a huge proponent of Google Business Profiles. They are all about local SEO. So I think that's a big one. So as far as what people misunderstand, I think they misunderstand that social media is not the place to build their business, which I know you're singing the same song. They misunderstand that, that they need to focus their time on assets that they own, their website, their Google Business Profile, and focus on local SEO. And then the last one I think that a lot of people misunderstand is what people want to receive by email. Email marketing is huge. Yes. Email isn't going to get you new clients because those people have to get on your list somehow. It's going to nurture people who are already interested in you. It's going to remind
they're warmer. They're warmed up.
It'll remind your past clients that you exist. Yep. But I think that I'm a huge proponent of emails that are helpful and emails that connect your potential client to you as a human, because we are selling a service that's actually really intimate. Like someone being vulnerable enough to step in front of a camera that we are operating and kind of, letting us see the inner workings of their family and their dynamics. And it's such a vulnerable place. So that's easier to do when you feel connected to your photographer. So I always, I only do monthly newsletters. That's all I have time for. I always talk about, I tell like a personal story, or I start it with some sort of something that connects with other people as humans. And then I include a lot of helpful content. Like, hey, here's 2 great books I read this month. And here's 2 books I read that are absolutely horrid. And here's what I'm currently listening to on podcasts. And here's the show that just came out that I'm obsessed with. And then there's a section in there about my availability. This is what I'm booking right now. Here's what I've got. Yeah, I talk a little bit about photography, but I don't only email my list when I have something I want to sell them. And that means
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. And that means my emails get opened.
The storytelling and like them getting to know you, because I think a lot of us, at least I did in the beginning, I was like, I don't know what to say. And I don't, and I will talk about some random thing that happened to me in the car with my kids or something like that is the stuff that's going to connect with them. And yes,
Yeah.
some of my emails are like, hey, like spring's coming and I got the spring wildflowers and the gorge coming and da 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 da. So that might be a big one. And then I'll offer them like some kind of something that's valuable to them. But most of the time it's like, hey, here's something you can do with your kids this weekend. It's going to be raining, or this is something that I've experienced, or here's a podcast I like. So I love that you mentioned that, because that actually makes it a lot easier just talking to a new friend.
Right. Exactly. I write my emails as if I am talking to one person. That's something I think a lot of people get wrong, where they're like, hi, everyone. Ew, I don't want to get that email. I don't want to get that email where I'm just one of a bunch of people you sprayed this out to. Talk to me like you're talking just to me, and I'm going to connect with you so much better. I love that. I like the email. It's more work. Like, let's be frank. Doing emails this way is more work, but throughout the month, as I realize man, I really love this lotion that I bought, or these self-tanning drops are awesome. Like, I'll just make a quick note in my phone, like, oh, mention this. I also list a local business that I've had a really good experience with lately. So the people who refinished my hardwood floors, that Ace Hardware that redid my screen door for me. I find a local business. I try to find a local business in each email to include. And I don't tell them it's in there. I just put it out there so people, I vouch for businesses that have given me good experiences. So that's another thing that people
love that. And that's a great thing for branding photographers to hear. I've done that in the past, but I don't do it enough. So I'm glad you said that, because that is great. Because I love doting on businesses and giving good reviews, because I know how hard they work. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. That's amazing. You did kind of talk about this, but I want to ask this question. What are the biggest marketing opportunities photographers are missing right now? Do you think it is their SEO and their Google business profile, or is it in a general sense, or would you say there's one thing?
I think SEO. If I had to pick one thing, I'd say it's SEO, because it is so amazing when, and you know this, I know I'm preaching to the choir. If I look at my inquiry sources, it is, more than half of my new clients come in from Google searches. And that's exactly the way I want it, because the great thing about SEO is it does not require daily attention or even weekly attention. You could argue monthly attention. Once you really get it humming along and working for you, it just keeps working. And I love that about it. And for a part-timer like me, marketing that you put some effort into up front, and then you can kind of sit back, relax, and just maintain it a little bit here and there, that's the best kind. So everyone, I think, full-time, part-time, benefits from SEO. And it's also on the property that you own. But however, SEO is it's not death by 1,000 cuts. It's success by 1,000 little wins and 1,000 tiny steps.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because there's not one thing. There isn't one SEO miracle task. And I think that's why a lot of people get overwhelmed. But it's so worth it. Just start going down the list of things and get them done, slowly chip away, and you will be so happy that you did.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's we go into this business because we want to take photos, and then we end up turning into this marketing person. But if you can go into it feeling okay, I don't really, because I hated SEO. I didn't even know what it was when I first started. I was like, what is that? I just thought, like you said, I'm a photographer and everybody will come knocking at your door. That didn't work out. So once I learned that, I realized how important it was. But I was like, okay, obviously I have to figure this thing out, whatever this SEO thing is. And once I did, I felt like I could get as creative in that as I was in my photography business. And now I can't shut up about it. My husband's like, no more about your website. I don't want to hear about your Google business profile. I don't want to hear about your alt text thing that you found out. I mean, he was the one that encouraged me to start teaching because I couldn't shut up about it. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I hated it and now I can't shut up about it. So you never know what you're going to really enjoy about it. And the thing that's awesome about SEO is you might not enjoy those little tasks, but once you start making money from it, you're like, actually that I don't mind doing that.
No, I don't mind at all. In fact, I love thinking of ideas for new blog posts. I don't do a ton of them, but I had a parent call me about a month ago, and he and his daughters, just the two of them. And he said, I had no idea senior photos were a thing. And now my daughter needs her photos, by April 1st for the yearbook. I have
Mhm.
no idea what I'm doing. And I get that a lot from parents having their first high school senior where they're just
Yeah.
like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I created a blog post called The Beginner's Guide to Senior Photos. And
Oh, I love that.
I linked to it in my inquiry response, my autoresponder, and it's
Oh,
on my
perfect.
seniors page on my website. So those parents that are, I have no idea what I'm doing, don't have to feel quite so unprepared when they reach out and when we have a conversation.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I get ideas all through just
Yeah.
everyday life for things that I can do and content I can create on my website that's going to both serve me for SEO, but also serve my clients with real value, which is why you should create content anyway, not for Google. Create it for humans. Google will always reward that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to talk about how important Google Business Profile is for photographers because you seem to be a really big expert in that as well. Can you talk a little bit about that
Yeah. So,
and what it is? Because I know there's some people
right.
that are like, I don't even know what that is.
Okay. Well, so I'm 45, so I remember the yellow pages. And so if you're young enough, you probably don't. But it was a ginormous phone book of businesses. It was a directory of businesses, and it landed on your door about once a year or twice a year, and the pages were yellow, hence the yellow pages.
Mhm.
And the thing about the yellow pages is they would put all the businesses in there, even if they didn't pay to be there. But if you wanted to have like bold print or even a little box around your name or an ad that had a little more info, you could pay extra, a lot usually, and get that level of attention on your business and sort of stand out. So Google Business Profiles are the entries of the yellow pages that is Google, right? Google
Yeah.
is the way we go find businesses when we're shopping for a product. So your Google Business Profile is your way to give all the info about your business to Google in its own language so that it can serve it up when people in your area locally are looking for a photographer. And the amazing thing about it is that you can have the best yellow pages listing. I'm putting bunny ears around that in your area, and it's free. It's all free. Google Business Profiles do not cost money. If somebody calls you and tells you they're going to, that yours needs attention and you have to pay for it, they're scamming you. Just please hang up, click. I hate it. I hate
That almost
that.
happened to me.
Yeah, but they're free, and you can make yours amazing for $0, and then it works in conjunction with the SEO on your website. So you're going to be served up in that little list of businesses with the little map next to it more often if your SEO on your site is already strong, but you can get served up there with just a really strong Google Business Profile. So why not? Like, it's all win for Google Business Profiles. I love it.
And it's free. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Amazing.
Free.
What are some quick improvements photographers could make today? Not just their Google Business Profile, but just like maybe 3 things, if you were to say that would take them like today to do. What would you say to do that would just help them get more visibility? And I want to put that into context. It doesn't mean it would be today, because I think we're so used to like social media and it gets seen today, but you get seen today by a little usually, and then it dies out quickly. But it's kind of backwards with SEO and those types of marketing things. You do it today and it builds up over time. So I just want to put that into context before you say that. But what would you say?
Oh gosh. Okay. If I had to pick just one task that's going to help with visibility, and you're right, it's a long-term game. I would say to look at the website, your homepage of your website. Make sure you have only one H1. Make sure your header hierarchy is structured correctly. Make sure the information is there so that people know who you are, where you are, and what you do. Put your location in the footer, if every single page. And there's just so much wrong with most photographer websites and that's okay. That's not bad. They got into this because they're photographers. They didn't get into it because they're a web designer. So they have to learn this new thing. We all have to learn this new thing. I just got lucky that I already knew how to do it. So I think pick one page on your website and make sure your headers are in the right hierarchy. I know you're like, what the hell? What are you talking about? Only have one H1. Okay. One H1. And that H1 should be the thing that you most want to be found for. So mine is North Liberty, Iowa family, senior, and newborn photographer. Boom. That's my homepage, H1. And then I just make sure that as people move down the page, they're getting the information they need to go deeper into my website. And I clearly make the path I want them to take as loud and bright as possible. This is where to go next. So a lot of people don't think about user journey for their website. So you get to the bottom of the page and it's like, well, where was I supposed to go from here? I don't know. Everything should lead them to the next thing and to the contact form or the inquiry form. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off base, but I think homepage.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because your SEO isn't just your headers and things like that. I mean, it's all that like optimization stuff, but your user experience is your SEO too, because that's green lights to Google, your user engagements, how much they scroll, are they clicking around, things like that. So those are all green lights to Google. So I'm really glad you mentioned that, and that you do have to create a specific path for them to go down, because I think, you know, you're like too close to the fire. Like we just think like, oh, it's so obvious. But even like a call to action button where it says, like, I think we get too poetic as photographers, and we're like, happiness this way. Now, I personally love that, but I think it's okay to say that, but you also need a like clear call to action, like click here to go here.
Yeah. Clear over cute all day long. Right.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I think you're right. I think there's a whole lot of lack of clarity. One of my favorite things that I do for mentees is I do a website strategy snapshot. So it's like a 30-minute video where I go through your website with talking through like the issues, challenges that I see and what to do to make it better. It's not like an ultra deep dive, but it's enough of a dive that you come away with a long list of things to do, prioritized by impact, you know? So I do a lot of these and they're so fun because people tell me that fresh set of eyes was what I needed to know how to move forward. I knew something was wrong with my site. I didn't know what, and now I have the clarity. So have somebody else look at your website and tell you what to do, because those second sets of eyes are super valuable.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, for sure. So I want to talk about your education and you teaching photographers and things like that. I want to talk about what like inspired you to start teaching photographers and start your education side of your business.
Yeah. So it was actually a dinner out with a couple of photographer friends where it was close to the end of fall season. We were at this beautiful restaurant and we start talking about, you know, kind of the current stressors, right? And we're talking about, having a long editing queue, whatever that is. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't have a long editing queue right now, but maybe that's because I'm part-time. And then the two of them start talking about like, I got so many emails this week from people asking where their photos are. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't have that problem. And then the other one's like, I know, like I got to a session and they hadn't even paid yet. And I'm like, weird. I don't have that problem either. And as they were talking, I just kept realizing like, I am different. How I run my business is different from the way at least these two do it. And perhaps I have something to offer there, something I shouldn't be holding back about the way to do this right. The way to do this so that your client experience is so amazing that your clients tell their friends and tell their friends and fill your calendar with word of mouth referrals. And that I just realized like, and then I also really love it. I feel like I'm maybe deep down a teacher at heart, because there's nothing more rewarding to me than having a long conversation with somebody, a mentoring call, and then hearing from them like, this was the most amazing thing. Like, I'm just like, it just fills my bucket so much. So I love teaching. I love helping. It's nice that I get paid to do it, but I have a lot of knowledge to share. I've learned a lot over the course of 23 years in marketing plus 6 years running a photography business. So why keep it all cooped up in my brain? Yeah,
I agree. Who do you love helping the most?
Well, I think it's an easy answer, which I love helping part-time photographers, because there's so much overlap between the issues that they are facing and the issues that I faced early on in my business as a part-timer and that I still continue to run into. I have a lot of experience-backed advice, and I can help them not make the same mistakes that I made in the early days. So part-time photographer is absolutely my favorite.
Yeah. What are the biggest struggles they come to you with when they first find you or start starting that
Yeah.
conversation to work with you?
Almost always the first thing they come to me with is, I want more clients, right? That's what everybody seems to want. I want more clients. I want more clients. And I said, okay, more clients is going to mean you need more inquiries. And to get more inquiries, let's work our way backwards and find the gaps. And almost always we end up starting with website. And maybe they're already running ads and paying a lot of money for somebody to send ad traffic to their site, to a site that doesn't convert because it doesn't have clear CTAs. It has a halfway not working contact form and no clear pricing information. And so, there's holes in this funnel. So we need to patch them up. And I think I need more clients at its base level is my marketing is broken. And let me figure out what I can do with the most valuable resource I have, which is my own website. How can I make it better for people who do find it? And at the same time, slowly start working toward more people finding it on Google.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's one thing to have your SEO dialed in, but it's another, if I've seen a lot of photographers come to me and they're like, my SEO is fine. And I'm like, actually, it is pretty good, but your pages aren't converting for a reason. And it's so obvious when you look at a whole bunch and plus working on your own. So I'm glad you mentioned that. What would you say is the biggest transformation once photographers work with you? Is it that they're better assistants? Is it being found? When they walk away, what are they usually telling you?
So, I think my favorite transformation is one of my first mentees, which I still work with her. And now she's a friend, not a mentee. She's actually a friend. She's only a few hours away. And for her, the big transformation was that she finally felt like a real, quote unquote, real photographer, because she had systems. She wasn't making people pay her in cash, check, or Venmo. She had her ducks in a row, and she felt so much better about her business that she then felt so much more comfortable raising her prices to profitable levels. And she did a really big price increase, and it was very scary for her, but she did it and it worked. And she said, I felt so much better charging more because I knew that I had improved my experience so much and my business so much. And I feel legit now, she said. So a lot of people will say that when we end up working on the systems side of things. For people who end up working on, the marketing side of things more, I think they just get a lot of clarity around, who they're targeting. Not everybody, you can't be everything to everybody, but this is who my website needs to be for. And this is who I need to constantly think about when I'm creating parts of it. So, I think it's easier to see the transformations on the systems side of things because it is so much change to your processes. But it's also really great to see people say, hey, I got my first inquiry from Google search. So, that's cool too.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the experience, because I think most of photographers are talented and are really good. And then before when you don't know what you don't know, you think, oh, my photos just aren't good enough. I'm charging too much. I'm charging too little. I'm in the messy middle. And really what it is, it's either or both. People can't find you, and you're not focusing on the experience. You're like, well, my photos speak for themselves. Yeah, they very well may do that, but that is one piece of the puzzle. There's a whole experience and thing that your clients need to feel held and seen and supported. Really glad that is. I think that's more of what it is than even the photos sometimes,
Oh, I totally agree. And in fact, that's like my positioning for my entire photography business. I realized a few years in that what I was hearing back from my clients is, you're such a good communicator. I never had to wonder what was happening next and when. I always knew you were going to respond to me if I sent you an email or a text. And they said it just felt so good to know that you weren't one more thing I had to take care of or I had to monitor. And I realized, okay, this is something I do really well. I don't have to sell my business on the basis of my photos are so unique and different. I don't really think they are. They're good. They're sometimes even great, but they're not the thing that sets me apart. What sets me apart is my client experience, because I'm reliable. And let's be honest, it is a low bar, because people tell me, I inquired with 5 photographers. You were the first one that got back to me. Speed to lead, man. It's a big thing. And not only did you get back to me quickly, but now we've exchanged 4 emails, 5 emails, and the other people are just now reaching out. And And so people are far more likely to book with the first photographer who responds to them. That's the case across like all industries. And so the client experience, you don't have to market yourself based on, fleeting moments and cuddles and snuggles. It's great if you do, and that's totally okay. But it's also a differentiator to be just really amazing at customer service and client experience.
I have a lot of photographers ask me, how quick should I respond to an inquiry? And I'm like, well, right away. Yeah. Like if you can set an automation, you can even say it's automated. Like I'll send you a personal email after this. I just want to make sure that you know that I got this. But right away, when some I hear like 1 to 2 hours or 24 hours, I'm like, I think that's way too long.
Oh yeah. I one time saw a post in a Facebook group where someone was like, I have these clients that inquire and then they email me again 2 days later, like wondering if I got it. And I just want to know how I draw boundaries because, I have a life. And I'm like, oh my God, this is painful to hear. That's not boundaries. That's you letting business walk away. If you get an inquiry at 9 p.m. and you're just, tucked into bed reading your book, you know that your auto reply fired off because you have that set up with an automation. Right. And you can also fire off with a template. Hi, just wanted to let you know I received your inquiry. I'm going to write a longer response tomorrow. You can expect to hear from me before noon. People love knowing that their forms did not go into the ether.
Right.
And you just showing like, hey, I don't have time to do this right now, but I want you to know I'm here and I'm on it. They're going to be like, oh, wow, she's reliable. She's on top of things. They're right off the bat. They're impressed. So it's a great way to start.
Agree. So I want to ask you a few more questions before we wrap up.
Okay.
What would you say you're most proud of in your whole entire photography journey? What would you say that is?
Oh boy. Oh man. I don't know if I've ever thought about this, what I'm most proud of. I mean, at the base level, I figured out how to take the photos that were in my head. That was the first goal I ever had going into this. And I don't do it all the time. And I'm always learning. I take classes every winter. I'm taking one right now. But the fact that I figured out how to, for the most part, get those pictures out of my head and onto my memory card feels really freaking good.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that. I remember feeling that way. Like I know what I want it to look like, but they're not doing that. I just took a lot of time and taken a lot of crappy pictures and it finally started to switch.
Right.
What does success look like for you today?
Well, we talked about this earlier. For me, it means contentment and a lack of resentment and just knowing that I have enough downtime in my schedule that I don't feel tired all the time. So that's what it looks like right now. I wouldn't have answered the same thing 2 years ago, but right now that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I love that. And then last, well, actually two things. I want you to, if you could give anyone listening, like one piece of advice to create a business that supports their life versus consuming it, what would it be?
Supports their life versus consuming it. I mean, gosh, where do I begin? There's just so many. I think really, I would say get off social media, not just because it's bad for your mental health to compare yourself to everyone else, but it's not the place that you're going to grow your business, and go work on your website.
I agree. And then last, can you tell us a little bit about, I'm going to be putting some things in the show notes here, ways to connect with you, but also your resources. And you have a blog post that I'm going to put in there. It's 3 things every successful part-time photographer does. But can you tell us a little bit about more of the information that you're going to provide in the show notes?
Yeah, I have some freebies, just kind of things I've created over time that I think are helpful. One of them is 3 quick fixes for your Google business profile. I probably went a little too deep. I don't know if they're quick fixes. They're 3 fixes for your Google business profile. I have another one that is the 3 client pleasing emails you're not sending. So that one's a big hit. I love that. And I am completely and totally blanking on the 3rd one. So, but yeah, I'll send you all those links. But on my website at apolloandiv.com, there's a section for photographers. And once you zip over there, it's hard to miss the free resources section. I also have like my favorite tech tools, why I love them. And just, kind of nobody cares what's in my camera bag. I think they care more what's on my computer, but I have that there too.
Yeah. And then tell listeners how they can find you.
Yeah. So on my website at apolloandiv.com. On Instagram, I actually have 2 Instagrams. My photography work is at Lydia_Apollo and And then my education content is over at Lydia Fine _for photographers. I don't know why I love underscores so much, but I'm sort of stuck with them. So, but if you just type Lydia Fine into the search on Instagram, you should find me. There's only one other Lydia Fine that's about my age, but you'll find me.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was very insightful, and I'm definitely going to have to hit you up about your husband's Instagram too if he has one, because I never knew that about you, so I'm excited to check that out.
Well, we don't have the same last name, and there's a reason for that, because I don't always want to be attached to his jokes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of they're a little vulgar and off color sometimes.
Yeah. No, I would be into that. So that would be nice. I'll find out.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it.